Welcome back, America. We have our friend Miranda Devine with us. Nobody better. Miranda Devine, I know much is being said about the special counsel for Hunter Biden and all the back and forth. And why the hell isn't there a special counsel for Joe Biden, since the only reason people care about Hunter Biden is because of his links to his father, his business links to his father, and all the other corruption swirling around this White House? Wouldn't it have been great if Merrick Garland had announced on Friday that, in fact, his big announcement was that we've met the standards a long time ago for appointing a special counsel to investigate Joe Biden?
Well, Mark, look, I mean, pigs might fly. The Merrick Garland's aim, the White House's aim, is simply to protect Joe Biden. So you just have to look at everything they do, not as being, truth seekers or people who want to pursue the rule of law. These are people engaged in an elaborate cover-up, which has been going on for many years. Remember, David Weis is as slow as a wet wick. He's spent 5 years investigating Hunter Biden and allowed the statute of limitations to run out on the most important years when it came to the Ukraine bribery, which is probably Joe Biden's biggest Achilles heel. And so now I don't have any faith that his being appointed special counsel, it's very peculiar. We were told that he had ultimate authority over charging decisions all over the place, and now we're told he asked for it belatedly. And look, this is all because of the IRS whistleblowers, Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, who are still being retaliated against. But they are truly, history will look back on them as heroes who changed the course of history and who really brought the walls crumbling down on top of Joe Biden and his elaborate influence peddling scheme while he was vice president.
Well, as I went through the criminal code and went through the issues that relate to the Bidens, I see tax evasion, money laundering, extortion, bribery, obstruction, wire fraud, financial fraud, conspiracy. I see FARA violations and a co-conspirator being Joe Biden in that. And then I look at the Donald Trump matters, Miranda Devine, and I see nothing. What I see there is they're using the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. I see they're trying to use the Espionage Act of 1917. I see they're trying to use the Enron obstruction laws of 2002. And they're trying to use a financial obstruction law that has nothing to do with January 6th or anything else for that matter. But they feel they have these Democrat, grand juries in Washington, D.C. The judge in Florida's onto it now. She says, why are you still using that grand jury? That documents case is down here. We know why. Because you have a corrupt, vile, headhunting prosecutor who was appointed for all these reasons, who just needs one charge to stick, and that's it. Do I have that about right?
Absolutely. And remember, there's also a special counsel looking into the exact same classified information, alleged mishandling of Joe Biden, Robert Hur. We haven't heard a peep from him. And we do know from the expenditures that have been made public that he's spent, I think, less than a third of what Jack Smith's been spending. So we have, on the one hand, an aggressive, killer prosecutor whose history is littered with misconduct and over-prosecuting people and having his cases thrown out. And on the other hand, we have a pussycat.
We have a judge in Washington, D.C. who should recuse herself. She's the biggest hack on the federal bench. She's an Obama acolyte. She donated to Obama. She worked in the same law firm as Hunter Biden, a law firm that is heavy-duty Democrat. She knows she's not objective. What she's done on these January 6 cases is deplorable. And there she sits. Even her last weird ruling on the gag stuff, she says, the Trump lawyers have a point. But then she expands the definition of sensitive documents to make it very difficult for them to talk about it. When we come back, I want to ask you about that, and I want to pursue this further. We'll be right back. Welcome back, America. Miranda Devine. So they have this judge who's the worst possible judge. They're going to have a Democrat jury in a city that voted 95% for Biden. You've got an Eric Holder prosecutor who also worked under Obama and is a complete hack. How does anybody get a fair trial under these circumstances if they're Trump himself?
Well, I mean, it really is impossible. You just have to look at all the poor souls who've been dragged out of places like Arkansas and put through the ringer of a DC jury with a Trump-deranged judge and been thrown in jail. Often they're in jail even before trial for just no violence, just wandering around the Capitol on January 6th, not even going into the building in some cases. So it's been, 2.5 years of real injustices, and we should not be surprised now that Donald Trump is through the ringer, because that's their entire motive, going after exaggerating the January 6th riot into something that is worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than any other terrorist act in the country, when it wasn't a terrorist act. They were doing that with the view in mind that at the end of the game they were going to lock up Donald Trump. It's been their fantasy for a long time. And, now that he's the primary candidate, the primary rival to Joe Biden in the next election, this is again election interference by the DOJ. And every time Joe Biden is in trouble or the Democrats are in trouble, what do? They sick their corrupt lawyers onto Donald Trump. And so they did that, for instance, with the first impeachment of Donald Trump when he was president over Ukraine. Just preposterous looking back now with what we know about what Joe Biden was up to with that corrupt energy company, Burisma, and his forcing the firing of the prosecutor who was about to start investigating his own son, Hunter Biden, who was on the board of Burisma. It was in Joe Biden's interest to make sure the prosecutor was fired. And for just asking about that corruption, the president, Donald Trump, gets impeached. So this is how the Democrats roll. And now that the walls are closing in on the Biden influence peddling scheme and Hunter Biden's in trouble, we have the corrupt, I guess you'd call them, you have to call them corrupt, Department of Justice, narrowing in on Donald Trump, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him. And, there's more to come, as we know. Georgia is going to follow suit. The New York Alvin Bragg case is still ongoing. This is like, I think of Donald Trump as like Gulliver with the Lilliputians trying to pin him down.
It's 100% correct. Alan Dershowitz was here before you, and he said, when it comes to banana republics, 10 is the worst. We're at 2 or maybe 3. I'm sorry, we're at 9 or maybe 10 at this point. Our electoral system's being destroyed. Our criminal law system's being destroyed. Our press is a complete joke. They're the Pravda press. They're the laughingstock of the world. The Republic is in decline. And that's exactly what's going on. And that Democrat Party and this administration are responsible for it. And they're doing it right now, right in front of our eyes. They got to figure out how to get this matter to the Supreme Court, if they'll take it. And we got to hope that there's 5 justices who have enough guts to put a stop to this and at least say, no more of this till after the election. And then you can deal with it then, and we'll sort it out when it gets back up here again. That's the way to fix this in a fair and constitutional manner. I want to thank you very much for coming on the program and all the great work you do. God bless you, my friend.
Thanks, Mark.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, America. Let me read you something very briefly from my new book, The Democrat Party Hates America. The Democrat Party does not care about what it's doing to our country, the system of justice, and our electoral process. It is the state party seeking to monopolize our politics, society, and culture. This is a revolution. The party comes first. The Democrat Party long ago abandoned comity and civility for character assassination and the iron fist, a fact that establishment Republicans have difficulty grasping. It has joined a long list of political parties around the world, past and present, that are totalitarian in nature and do not tolerate democracy, republicanism in America. fair elections, and equal justice before the law. Grab your copy. The Democrat Party Hates America. You can get it on Amazon.com. I hope you'll read it. It comes out September 19th. And we are going to launch the most important, forceful, constitutional, and peaceful counter-revolution against this revolution in our history. See you next time on Life, Liberty, and Levin.